Michael Gray. Ladies and gentlemen, the recipients. Two John Marshall Awards are presented for support of litigation. The first award is presented for outstanding achievements in bringing litigation against the General Electric Company to a successful conclusion and obtaining the company's agreement to clean up the most contaminated portion of the 200-mile Hudson River PCB Superfund site. General Electric will reimburse government costs incurred in performing cleanup work and, most significantly, will undertake an unprecedented dredging program to remove highly toxic contaminated sediment. From the Environmental Enforcement Section of ENRD, Senior Attorney Brian Donahue and Trial Attorney Peter Kautsky. The second John Marshall Award for Support of Litigation is presented to a trial attorney in the Civil Division's Commercial Litigation Branch for efforts related to the 120 Windstar-related cases. These cases are related to claims by lending institutions arising out of the savings and loan crises in the late 1980s and early 1990s. Virtually all the cases involve high dollar values, last for many years, and involve complex issues. Ladies and gentlemen, John Roberson. An attorney with the Civil Division's Appellate Section receives the first John Marshall Award for handling of appeals. During the past decade, this attorney has achieved extraordinary victories in important and sensitive appellate cases. He has emerged as a leading expert on litigation related to international terrorism and state secrets. Ladies and gentlemen, H. Thomas Byron. The next recipient is recognized for his exemplary legal skills. He has played a vital role in representing the United States before the Supreme Court on matters of critical importance to the development of intellectual property, antitrust, and environmental law. During the past year, he personally argued 4 cases before the Supreme Court and secured important victories for the government. Ladies and gentlemen, Deputy Solicitor General Thomas Hunger. The John Marshall Award for providing legal advice is presented to 2 teams. The first award is presented for tireless efforts in responding to increasing congressional oversight requests, particularly congressional inquiries into sensitive or classified matters. The recipients succeeded in striking the appropriate balance between accommodating the Congress's legitimate need for information while preserving and protecting the prerogatives of the Department and the executive branch. The recipients are from the Office of Legislative Affairs, Special Counsel Faith Burton, and from the Office of Legal Counsel, Special Counsel Paul Colborn. The recipients. The second award is presented for outstanding leadership in providing legal advice and guidance to department components in labor and employment law. In addition to offering regular advice on litigation-related matters, the recipients provided expert legal guidance on proposed legislation and regulations with respect to labor and employment law. The recipients are from JMD's personnel staff and include Assistant Director Kathy Emerson and senior attorneys Eric Daniels, Melanie Russell, Matthew Hurt, and Melanie Jones. Ladies and gentlemen, the recipients. The next category of John Marshall Award is for preparation or handling of legislation. This recipient is honored for his outstanding efforts related to the Whistleblower Protection Act. The recipient has ably led the department's efforts in evaluating the act, preparing effective written and oral testimony for presentation to Congress, and coordinating well-reasoned responses to congressional inquiries. From the Commercial Litigation Branch of the Civil Division, Deputy Director Todd Hughes. The next category of the John Marshall Award is for asset forfeiture. These recipients are recognized for their extraordinary work in forfeiting over $1.2 billion in 3 massive corporate fraud cases and ensuring that the funds will be used to compensate thousands of defrauded investors. The recipients are, from the Southern District of New York, Assistant U.S. Attorneys Neil Borofsky, David Essex, Perry Carboni, Marjorie Feinzig, Lisa Korologos, and Barbara Ward. From the Criminal Division's Asset Forfeiture and Money Laundering Section, Trial Attorney Nancy Ryder and Chief Richard Weber. Receiving the award but not present today is Sharon Cohen-Levin. Ladies and gentlemen, the recipients. The John Marshall Award for Alternative Dispute Resolution is presented for contributions to the development of the Court of Federal Claims ADR pilot program and Court of Appeals appellate mediation program. This recipient is also recognized for guiding attorneys through the process of assessing the feasibility of settlement through ADR. Please join me in honoring Assistant Director Deborah Bynum of the Civil Division's Commercial Litigation Branch.
The Attorney General's Award for Outstanding Service in Freedom of Information Act administration recognizes exceptional dedication to the implementation of this act. This year's award is presented for the exemplary and sustained role in providing essential guidance both within the department and on a government-wide basis for the implementation of an unprecedented Freedom of Information Act executive order.
Ladies and gentlemen, please honor attorney advisors Kenneth Hendricks and Thomas Hitter from the Office of Information and Privacy.
The Attorney General's Award for Fraud Prevention was created to recognize those who have been involved with the prevention, investigation, and prosecution of fraud and other white-collar crimes. The recipients of this award are honored for their contributions to the $920 million settlement with Tenet Healthcare Corporation, which is one of the largest settlements in the history of the False Claims Act. The settlement resolved allegations that Tenet defrauded Medicare and other programs by inflating its cost for patient care, billing, and services not provided, paying kickbacks to physicians, and denying covered services to HMO patients.
The recipients are from the Civil Division's Commercial Litigation Branch. Trial attorneys David Cohen, Rachel Irish, and David Wiseman. Investigative analyst Anthony Gould. Senior Trial Counsel Daniel Spiro and George Vitelli. Financial Analyst Eileen Zimmer, and Assistant Director Michael Granston. From the Central District of California, Assistant U.S. Attorneys David Barrett and Kathy Ostiller, and Auditor Jeffrey McVicker. From the Eastern District of Louisiana, Assistant U.S. Attorneys Patrice Harris Sullivan and Sharon Smith, and former Assistant U.S. Attorney Paul Weidenfeld. Also receiving the award today but not present are Donna Maisel, Diana Yantz, and Gary Plessman. Ladies and gentlemen, the honorees.
The Attorney General's Award for Outstanding Contributions to Community Partnerships for Public Safety recognizes extraordinary contributions to building collaborations which make our communities and neighborhoods safer. The award is designed to honor community leaders, law enforcement personnel, service providers, business persons, and others who work together on public safety. This year, 2 awards are presented.
After September 11th, the Civil Rights Division engaged in outreach to Muslim, Arab, Sikh, and South Asian leaders to address the rise in hate crimes and discrimination against these communities. This recipient was tasked with developing a formal process for regular dialogue between these communities and the federal government. Issues addressed include hate crimes, prisoner abuse, profiling, border searches, and many others. Ladies and gentlemen, from the Civil Rights Division, Special Counsel for Religious Discrimination, Eric Treen. The next recipient was the driving force in developing and launching a comprehensive gang model that is the foundation of the prevention portion of the Department's comprehensive anti-gang initiative. Through his work, the recipient has provided the framework and guidance that has led communities to develop effective responses to gang violence. From the Office of Justice Programs, Senior Juvenile Justice Program Coordinator, Phelan Wyrick.
Our next award is named in memory of Robert Cubby Dorsey, who was Chief of Logistics Management, a materials handler foreman on JMD's Facilities and Administrative Services staff. He began his career as a federal wage system employee and spent his entire 24 years of federal service with the Department of Justice.
The 2007 Cubby Dorsey Award is presented to an automotive worker foreman for the Federal Bureau of Prisons. This recipient has acquired equipment for the Bureau at no cost. Instead of purchasing new cars, trucks, forklifts, and other equipment, this recipient instructs his work detail in the proper way to refurbish these types of machinery. Please honor Mr. Mark Finley.
The Attorney General's Award for Outstanding Contributions by a New Employee recognizes exceptional performance and notable accomplishments toward the Department's mission by an employee with fewer than 5 years of career service. 5 awards are presented.
Our first recipient has been instrumental in the prosecution of multiple war zone investigations involving bid rigging, bribery, and corruption, which have been reported to the National Procurement Fraud Task Force and are of high priority. From the Antitrust Division's National Criminal Enforcement Section, Trial Attorney Mark Pletcher. Our next recipient is Coordinator for Legislative History Digitation with the JMD Library staff. She designed, developed, and implemented a legislative history digital database. The digitization of this information provides easy access to staff across the country. Please honor Ms. Joanne Shee. Our next recipient is an Assistant U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of California. His extraordinary investigation and prosecution of a corrupt border and customs protection officer brought to justice an immigration smuggling case involving hundreds of illegal aliens. Ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Tokars. Our next recipient has successfully conducted 2 major investigations related to anarchist organizations and the Earth Liberation Front. His dedication, outstanding abilities, and resourcefulness have assisted in the prevention and disruption of 2 major domestic terrorist attacks. From the FBI's Sacramento Division, Special Agent Nasan Walker. Our final recipient in this category began her career as an intern at BOP's Federal Transfer Center in Oklahoma. Since that time, she has conducted more than 1,000 assessments and counseling sessions and coordinates the weekly psychiatry clinic. She has demonstrated considerable skill in diffusing volatile situations between staff and inmates. Ladies and gentlemen, staff psychologist Yazelda Yanez.
The Department's senior leadership will announce the recipients in several very special award categories. It is my pleasure to introduce Solicitor General Paul Clement, who will present the Edward H. Levy Award for Outstanding Professionalism and Exemplary Integrity. Mr. Solicitor General.
The Edward H. Levy Award is presented to pay tribute to the memory and achievements of former Attorney General Levy, whose career as an attorney, law professor, and dean, and public servant exemplified professionalism and integrity. This year's recipient is John Pistole, Deputy Director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Mr. Pistole began his career as a special agent in 1983. He first investigated organized crime and then supervised white-collar crime and civil rights matters. Following the espionage arrest of Robert Hanssen, he led efforts to address security and vulnerability issues. After September 11th, Director Mueller appointed Mr. Pistole to various leadership positions in counterterrorism and counterintelligence, and then to Deputy Director. Throughout his career, Mr. Pistole has been a go-to person in the FBI to handle challenging matters. Ladies and gentlemen, John Pistole. is my pleasure to introduce Acting Associate Attorney General Greg Katsas, who will present the next award. Greg?
The next two categories of awards recognize significant contributions by the Department's law enforcement partners and by private citizens. These types of contributions are essential to the Department's success and to our nation. The first award is the Attorney General's Award for Meritorious Public Service. The first award in this category is presented to a forensic odontologist from Seattle, Washington. He has voluntarily assisted the FBI and law enforcement nationwide for many years in the area of dental identification. While he cannot be with us today, please join me in honoring Gary Bell. The next award is presented to a volunteer who has supported the Bureau of Prisons since 1989, when he learned of the need for a new prison complex somewhere in the western part of the United States. This recipient brought the community together and was able to raise the funds needed to purchase 600 acres of land to donate to the construction of the prison. When the facility opened, he became the founding member and chair of the Community Relations Board of the complex. This recipient is truly meritorious, Mr. Darrell Lindsay. The William French Smith Award for outstanding contributions to cooperative law enforcement pays tribute to the memory and achievements of Attorney General William French Smith for his efforts in promoting interagency law enforcement cooperation. The award recognizes state and local law enforcement officials who, through intergovernmental efforts, have made significant contributions to public safety and the administration of justice. This year's recipients are honored for their investigation of data stolen from the Department of Veterans Affairs in a local burglary that victimized the nation. Their efforts and coordination with federal law enforcement led to the recovery of the data from the Montgomery County, Maryland Department of Police. Sergeant Christopher Humrick, Corporal Monique Tompkins, Detectives Mary Beth Corsiato, Bruce Cole, Mark Hayden, Sheila Sugru, Principal Administrative Aide Bonnie McMahon, Captain Russell Hamill, Crime Analyst John DeSalis, and Lieutenant Salvatore Mancuso. Also receiving the award, but not present, is Deirdre Walker. Ladies and gentlemen, the recipients. It is my pleasure to welcome Acting Deputy Attorney General Craig Morford back to the podium for presentation of the final awards. Craig.
Today we have a special presentation that is not in the program. The department recently received notification that several very special members of the Senior Executive Service were selected to receive the Presidential Rank Award. These awards recognize and reward sustained extraordinary accomplishment over an extended period of time by career SES appointees. This year, 11 department employees will receive the Presidential Rank Award for meritorious service. We will recognize those recipients today. Vince?
From ATF, Assistant Director for Science and Technology, Greg Bailey. From the U.S. Marshal Service, Assistant Director for Management and Budget, Brodeen Brown. Also from the Marshal Service, Assistant Director for Judicial Security, Robert Finan. From ENRD, Executive Officer Robert Bruffy. From JMD, the Director of the Security and Emergency Planning Staff, James Dunlap. Also receiving the award is Federal Detention Trustee Stacy Hilton. From the Civil Division, Deputy Branch Director David Klein. From the Tax Division, Chief of the Civil Trial Section for the Northern Region, Daniel Malarkey. From the Antitrust Division, Appellate Section Chief Catherine O'Sullivan. From the Criminal Division, Appellate Section Chief Patty Stemler. And our final recipient from the Federal Bureau of Prisons, Mid-Atlantic Regional Director Kim White. Ladies and gentlemen, the Presidential Rank Award recipients.
The Mary C. Lawton Award recognizes employees who have served at least 20 years in the department and who have demonstrated high standards of excellence and dedication throughout their careers. This award is given only in exceptional circumstances to individuals of special merit and is not awarded to express appreciation for tenure alone. This year's recipient is recognized for possessing an encyclopedic knowledge of legal concepts in the civil realm. He has developed a particular expertise in immigration law. His contributions to national security and immigration cases are emblematic of his outstanding skills as a legal practitioner. This recipient demonstrates legal expertise, professional standards, devotion to justice, and dedication to service for which this award was founded. From the Eastern District of Virginia, Supervisory Special Assistant Larry Lee Gregg. The Attorney General's Award for Exceptional Heroism recognizes an extraordinary act of courage or voluntary risk of life during the performance of duty. This award has special significance in this department because of the inherent hazards encountered by our law enforcement personnel. It is only through their courage, heroism, and devotion to duty that the department is able to fulfill its law enforcement mission. This year's Heroism Award is presented for courageous actions on March 35, 2006, when this recipient and fellow officers apprehended a fugitive wanted for various assaults of supervised release, violations of supervised release. The fugitive was located in a residence occupied by a woman and her children. A gun battle ensued. Despite receiving 2 gunshots in the chest of his ballistic vest, the recipient managed to alert his fellow officers that the fugitive was armed and emerging from the residence. This warning and engagement of the fugitive allowed officers to remove the mother and her children to safety while the fugitive was apprehended. In newspaper and television interviews, the young mother credited these actions with saving her life and the lives of her children. Please join me in honoring a true hero, Deputy U.S. Marshal Russell T. Doff.